Welcome back to Rockers to Doctors, the only show where loud guitars meet PhDs and headbanging comes with footnotes. I'm Dorian Prescott.
And I'm Nova Starwick, your data driven decoder of riffs, lyrics, and viral chaos. Today's episode is a full December buffet epic reunions, surprise releases, legacy icons doing unexpected things, and enough drama to keep the algorithm very, very fed.
From Journey serenading millions on The Voice to Vinnie Vincent selling a single for the price of a cell phone to Bret Michaels' biopic and a book coming out in 2026 to two new Guns N' Roses songs, we're covering it all.
So tune up and prepare for a journey through the loud, the absurd, and the historically significant in rock. Let's dive in. Three, two, one.
Big stage energy incoming. Legendary Journey guitarist Neil Schon showed up on the season 28 finale of The Voice.
From a metric standpoint, this is genius, Dorian. The Voice has millions of weekly viewers, many of whom weren't alive when Journey first ruled the FM radio. This is a cross-generational exposure you can't just buy. Or
Oh,
actually, you can, because they did.
that's true. You know, in college, I had a crush on a theater major named Emily Pierce. One day, I climbed a tree outside her window and played Don't Stop Believing on my acoustic guitar pretty horribly. That was 1997. I found out later that she wasn't actually in her dorm when I did that. I didn't want to admit this back in a previous episode when you mentioned being serenaded by some weirdo. Well, in this situation, I was the weirdo playing Journey.
So, two things. Can you whip out your acoustic guitar and play us some Don't Stop Believing? Do you remember it?
Maybe in a future episode.
All right, we'll see about that. And the other, it's not really weird if you were both single. She might have been interested, so it's okay then. But
Sh
it is, however, statistically risky behavior to be up in a tree playing guitar.
And I was hoping that would have attracted her. As I was supposed to say before, this intrusive reminiscence was that Neil Sean's presence on The Voice wasn't some trivial little cameo.
Sean was joined by members of Journey's current touring band, drummer and vocalist Dean Castronovo, keyboardist and vocalist Jason Darlatka, and bassist Todd Jensen. So, yes, this is a real band, not a reality TV karaoke type situation. No lip syncing.
Sadly, Jonathan Cain and Arnel Pineda couldn't make it, which is rock and roll code for scheduling conflicts, not backstage fistfight, we think.
The lineup still delivered, though, performing a medley of Journey staples, including Lights, Lovin' Touchin' Squeezin', and Because America Requires It, practically by law, Don't Stop Believing.
All of this went down in front of a judging panel that included Michael Bublé, Snoop Dogg, and Reba McEntire, which might be the most genre agnostic table in the history of television.
And this really wasn't just about nostalgia. The performance doubled as a promo for Journey's upcoming Final Frontier Farewell Tour, a massive 60-day North American run starting February 20th.
So, yes, Journey is still out there. Power ballads age way better than most reality show contestants.
And here's a great reminder that rock history is often powered by accidents and listening to your gut. The title of Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit didn't come from Kurt Cobain channeling some grand Gen X manifesto.
It came from Kathleen Hanna of Bikini Kill writing, Kurt smells like Teen Spirit on the wall right after a night of hanging out. Hanna revealed it in a recent interview.
And the best part, I didn't even know Teen Spirit was a deodorant at the time. And for some people, they might not know that it was a deodorant during the late 80s, early 90s that a lot of teen girls wore. He thought the phrase sounded revolutionary, like bottled youth angst. And from a data perspective, that's a misunderstanding with an absolutely insane cultural return on investment.
What started as a joke became the title of a song that helped define the entire grunge movement and push alternative rock straight into the mainstream in 1991, killing glam rock.
It's a perfect example of accidental virility, no marketing plan, no branding meeting, just graffiti and good timing. And just as a reminder, so some of you may be fully aware of this. You may have lived through this in the 90s, and have known this forever, but there are some people that maybe weren't around in the 90s, maybe were into different things in the 90s and completely missed that. So keep an open mind. While you know, everyone else may not know.
Good point. So here's a classic generational dust up. Howard Stern recently said on his show that rock music feels dead to him. Youngblood heard that and responded with a firm, not even close.
His main point was that rock doesn't need to be saved, Youngblood's main point, by one chosen hero. He actually called that idea a load of BS. Instead, he argued the genre is alive across multiple scenes at the same time.
To back it up, Youngblood named current bands he sees carrying the torch. Hardcore acts like Knocked Loose and Turnstile, punk bands like The Sniffers and Lambrini Girls, and indie rock groups including Fontaines, DC, Geese, and Wonder Horse.
He also pointed out to on his own new album Idols, describing it as a creative risk with longer, more theatrical songs, and noted that the audience is still there and growing, which statistically speaking is not how dead genres behave.
The takeaway is simple: rock isn't gone, it's just fragmented and evolving.
Or in data terms, rock hasn't disappeared. It's diversified, fragmented, and redistributed into multiple smaller but highly engaged ecosystems.
Mm, actually,
Here we go.
now hear me out. I think rock is dead. Not eternally dead, but relative to the golden years of like the 1950s to the early 2000s, it looks pretty dead.
I feel like I might disagree with you there, but I would be willing to hear you out and offer my arguments as well. So perhaps we can do a philosophical deep dive episode, Is Rock Dead, somewhere in the future.
Good idea. This next story isn't just about drama in the glam metal world, it's drama in my world, Cincinnati, Ohio. The band Pretty Boy Floyd has reportedly been banned from a Cincinnati music venue after what's described as a racist tirade linked to the band. Tirade. This was highlighted in a Facebook post by the establishment, expressing that they do not share the same social and racial views as those who were allegedly expressing them that night on stage.
Yeah, that's the kind of incident that ignites both fan backlash and algorithm spikes. People react, repost, and debate it across platforms. And I would also like to add that this current lineup of Pretty Boy Floyd does not involve Chrissy Crash. So there's apparently a lot of issues between Chrissy and Steve Summers, of course, was the one that had the tirade. So we do want to separate out Pretty Boy Floyd is that the whole original lineup. So Chrissy was not involved with this situation. Now, from a data standpoint, controversies like this tend to generate a surge of engagement, even if the content itself isn't about music.
Now, the band hasn't issued a major public statement yet confirming what happened or why, so fans are split between defending them, condemning them, and just trying to figure out what happened.
Bottom line, Pretty Boy Floyd was poorly behaved. We liked their music once upon a time, so guys, please get your acts together.
Now, big news for 80s and 90s metal fans. Geoff Tate, the original Queensryche singer, is nearly finished recording Operation Mindcrime III, the final chapter of the epic trilogy, which began with part one in 1988. I remember that. And part two in 2006. I remember that. He says some tracks are super heavy and incredibly technical.
And he's taking a really modern approach to this release, so he's dropping songs one at a time rather than a full album to keep engagement steady and streaming numbers alive for months rather than just weeks.
Meanwhile, his final chapter tour rolls into 2026, performing the original Operation Mindcrime album in full with strings, lasers, and all the epic theatrics. Probably the last time fans will get to see this full saga live.
So, this is a small two-phase strategy. Honor the legacy material live, then slowly roll out new tracks, which is really excellent fan management.
Bottom line, Operation Mindcrime plot is about to evolve again, one awesome track at a time.
In the world of touring, live shows, and events, Canadian arena rock legends Triumph just announced their first full tour in over 30 years to celebrate their 50th anniversary. Yes, 5 decades of rock.
The North American Trek kicks off April 22nd in Ontario and runs through June 6th in Boston, hitting cities from Toronto to Tampa along the way. It's a serious throwback. The first record, like LP, that I ever bought, Triumph.
From the cradle?
No, not from the cradle. My parents bought me records when I was in cradle. This was later when I had allowance that I could.
So they brought you records to rock the cradle?
The cradle of rock. Yes.
Anyway, this is not one of those one original member plus vibe situations. The core trio is back. So this does include guitarist Rick Emmett, bassist and keyboardist Mike Levine, and drummer vocalist Gil Moore. All of them are back, but they're also beefing up that lineup with some heavy hitters. Phil X from Bon Jovi and Todd Kearns and Brent Fitz from Slash's band. They're basically making this the first six-piece power trio in history if you just squint hard enough.
In plain prose, the original rockers are teaming up with the best of the best. They actually played together last year at a reunion set during the NHL playoffs, and now they're taking that energy on tour.
Ticket sales have been so hot that Live Nation says they're besides themselves with joy. And some shows really sold out fast, making this tour feel like the equivalent of a flash flood.
Oh, and April Wine is opening, so nostalgia vibes will be at a maximum capacity. I have no idea who they are, but that's what the article I pulled this from says. So for homework, I will check out April Wine. And if any of you listeners haven't heard of them, give them a listen. Tell us what you think.
Triumph is back on the road, celebrating 5 decades of great music. And if these seasoned rockers can do this without needing a nap halfway through, there's hope for all of us yet.
You know what I did before this episode?
Let me guess, you took a nap.
I took a nap, hour and a half.
Lucky. So I now am personally delighted to report this. At age 71, former Van Halen frontman Diamond David Lee Roth announced his first solo concert of 2026, billed as A Night with David Lee Roth. It's set to hit the BMO Pavilion in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on June 20th.
One thing Nova and I couldn't get enough of growing up was David Lee Roth era Van Halen. We were absolutely obsessed. The allowance money that I spent in flea markets on live bootlegs and studio session tapes was absurd. Once, you and we tried to play the song Jump, if you remember that. You were taking piano lessons, so you could handle it. I had yet to take guitar lessons, so the only thing I could do was strum that like 8 measures of the C chord, and then that was it.
I still use Jump as one of my warm ups when I go to play piano. So, and here we are, 35 years later, still talking about Dave.
Hell yeah.
And this isn't just a random gig for Dave. Roth's been back on the road in 2025 after 5 years away from performing live.
He'll likely be backed by his usual live band, the same crew who helped him blast through Van Halen classics like Jump, Panama, and Hot for the Teacher on his recent shows. Those songs were hits when I was still struggling to tie my shoes.
And you're struggling to talk today.
A little bit.
Me too. Pre-sale and general ticket dates are already live, so fans should move quickly if they want to see Diamond Dave doing what Diamond Dave does.
Alas, Megadeth is cranking the countdown to their final studio album, simply titled Megadeth. That's dropping January 23rd. The band just unleashed the third single and video called Let There Be Shred, a ripping thrash anthem that's really loud and chaotic.
The video puts frontman Dave Mustaine in a mixed martial arts setting. Yes, Mustaine is duking it out while the band plays, mixing actual fighting with live performance cuts. Mustaine says it's a throwback to their original Fast and Furious ethos.
But there's more than just the single. On January 17th, 2026, Megadeth is hosting Let There Be Shred, the ultimate Megadeth immersive listening event in Tennessee, an all-day affair where fans can hear the new record early. You could catch acoustic performances, attend a masterclass, sit in on a band Q&A, enjoy guitar talk with Dave Mustaine and Gibson's CEO, and even get dinner, merch, photos, and signed posters.
All this builds to their planned farewell tour in 2026, what they're calling the This Was Our Life World Tour, with stops in Canada early in the year and gigs with Iron Maiden later in the year. It's effectively their final chapter on stage and in the studio. So, yes, new single, interactive listening event, final album, multi year farewell tour. This is a whole trilogy of metal experience.
There was a lot of Guns N' Roses news this month, a lot. So we're just going to honor your appetite for Chinese spaghetti and give it to you all on one plate.
Unless you're telling lies.
Clever. Guns N' Roses have just released two new singles, Nothing and Atlas, on December 4th, 2025. These are the band's first new songs since 2023's The General and Perhaps, and they're getting plenty of attention from fans old and new.
The tracks show two very different sides of the band. Atlas leans into classic hard rock swagger with impressive slash leads, while Nothing is more of a ballad, more intimate and introspective with piano.
Both songs actually date back to the Chinese Democracy recording sessions, and in my opinion, you can tell. They've been reworked with Slash, Duff, and minus Izzy, so it's like finding what looks like a buried treasure, but it's really just, yeah,
Where's Gilby?
yeah, Gilby.
Anyway, these songs are being added to the band's set list for their 2026 world tour. The chart data already shows both tracks debuting in the Billboard Top 10 bestsellers. Decades in, Guns N' Roses still moves units.
They gave us nothing, but at least it's something.
Big punk news. Legendary SoCal punks Social Distortion are dropping their first new album in 15 years this May. That's a really long wait for all of us since Hard Times and Nursery Rhymes in 2011.
Even more impressive, frontman Mike Ness is making a comeback after tonsil cancer in 2023. This album marks a real return to form.
Now we've got more news about Aerosmith and Youngblood again. It's been constant since July. Aerosmith and Youngblood have released a new version of their track Wild Woman featuring superstar Lainey Wilson. This remix, officially called the Lainey Wilson version, dropped on December 5th, 2025, and adds her bold vocals and distinct country edge to the blues rock original.
The track comes from their collaborative EP, One More Time, and Wilson's vocals give it a fresh edge that blends genres like a perfectly stirred cocktail of rock, alt, and country.
I like that. This all started after Steven Tyler and Wilson performed Dream On together. Next thing you know, she's in the studio with Tyler, Youngblood, and Joe Perry shredding guitars.
So, yes, it's a classic lineage beats modern sound, and the first chapter is not just nostalgia bait.
Legacy acts are not just revisiting the past, they are actively reshaping it on their own terms.
Okay, so we're venturing outside of the hard rock realm for a minute to address Pink Floyd. Now, every metal musician I've ever played with was influenced by Floyd. Not metal, but essential to metal. That said, Pink Floyd has finally released an official music video for Wish You Were Here, 50 years after the song first came out. Finally, visuals for one of rock's most iconic tracks.
The video is part of the 50th anniversary reissue. 50, we keep coming up with 50 for everyone.
Mm.
Which includes deluxe box sets and a new Dolby Atmos mix. Fans old and new are streaming it like crazy.
Visually, it's classic Floyd. Archival studio shots, surreal animation, and London underground scenes, psychedelic collage that matches the song's feel.
And now, a very contentious issue pertaining to what some may call a very pretentious return.
Vinnie Vincent, the guitarist who once strutted out of Kiss like rock and roll ninja, the dude whose albums I listened to on a slip and slide in the 80s, has released his first new music in over 20 years. The track's called Ride, and yes, it comes out with a limited edition CD single because apparently digital streaming is for the weak.
Nothing says, I'm back, like forcing your fans to dig out a CD player from the attic.
Here's the kicker, the kick in the nuts, actually. He's only pressed 1,000 copies of the single. Now, it's not an album, it's a single, and he's charging $225 a pop in the US and $300 internationally. Basically, it's for the wealthier Kiss fans who have disposable income set aside to waste on the disposable musician.
Ouch. Ooh.
Look, I bought both Vinnie Vincent Invasion albums brand new when I was a kid. I had a couple months of allowance saved up. And, of all the albums that I could have bought, there are probably a couple of Van Halens I didn't own yet. I chose to buy Vinnie Vincent. So, yeah, I think it's snobbery at its finest. I mean, who knows what his motives are? Maybe he's in debt or something, but it just doesn't make much sense. And that's why you never hear his music on things like Stranger Things or any current media where young people are discovering old school metal. He just cut himself off.
So now on to less damning news. Depending on how you look at it, Wicked Angel dropped the video for their debut single tonight on November 30th, and it's already making waves. The video is cinematic without being overproduced and the perfect visual to match their bold sound. Early traction for Wicked Angel suggests real momentum. Engagement like this early, is how a fan base actually forms. Momentum matters, and Wicked Angel has it. I strongly recommend that you check this band out. Lots of fun.
Rock biopic alert. Bret Michaels, frontman of Poison, survivor of every rock cliche imaginable, has announced that both a biopic and a book titled Unbroken, Then, Now, and Forever are coming out in 2026. These projects promise to tell his life story from early days with a ukulele to decades on stage and on screen.
Oh, ukulele. Anyway, that's right. Michaels teased the announcement on social media, calling the unbroken spirit that's kept him rocking the it factor, even after the highs, lows, and downright nasty bits of the music business.
This follows his 2020 memoir, Autoscrapography, but this time the story expands into a full cinematic experience covering his battles, including managing type 1 diabetes since childhood, his reality TV fame, and his enduring passion for performance.
In short, Bret Michaels is turning his long, wild rock journey into unbroken. And we're about to see and read how he did it.
If you enjoyed this episode, and by enjoyed, I mean you learned something, laughed at least once, or marveled at the consecutive months in a row that Youngblood and Aerosmith have made the headlines, you can find us at Rockers to Doctors on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, TikTok, and Instagram.
And if you like current news about hard rock and metal bands, old and new, as well as deep dives into strange rock artifacts, misunderstood moments, and the occasional why did this exist spiral, you are in the right place.
Follow, subscribe.
Thank you for checking out today's show. Until then, we'll be headbanging with a hypothesis.